Afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We would like to start promptly and get to the agenda as soon as possible. So I would like to confirm that we have a quorum. Ms. Secretary, please confirm whether a quorum is in place, consistent with the company's articles.
Mr. Chairman, I confirm that we have a quorum in place.
Fantastic. With that, we will move forward and again, welcome you all. I would like to also state that today in attendance, we are grateful to have our group chief executive officer with us, Mr. Anthony Sabga III, making his way to Jamaica to support us on a couple important meetings and to see the plant and interact with the staff. So very grateful for your attendance, sir. And with that, we will start with our corporate anthem together.
You don't know what it feels like. The strength that you gave, it means the world to me. Yeah. You have shown me new life. Your resilience inspires along the way. You've always been there for me, and some are your family, a part of history. With you, we can only get better, better, better. Together, we can only get better, better, better. Together, yeah. Look what we made. Only the brave are here to stay. We can only get better, better, better. Together, we can only get better.
I would now ask Ms. Peter Gay Levine Thomas to lead us in prayer.
That you may enlighten and inform our minds and hearts so as to build future. Through you, our decision, which will offer new opportunities for the benefit of those whom we lead and whose future we hold with us. We ask that in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ.
Amen. Thank you, Ms. Levine Thomas. With that, I hereby call this meeting to order. This 71st annual general meeting is being held in a hybrid format in accordance with Articles 49A(b) of the company's amended Articles of Incorporation and the attached notice published convening the meeting. I take this opportunity to outline a few housekeeping matters. Firstly, instructions will be provided on how to submit your questions during the question and answer segment. We will provide approximately 30 minutes for questions and as best as we can, and we will accommodate one question at a time. Shareholders are encouraged to keep their questions direct. Questions will only be taken on the business outlined in the notice of the meeting, and this notice calling this annual general meeting was printed on page 21 of the annual report 2022. The report was posted electronically on the JSE and the company's websites. Notice of the meeting. I will now ask the company secretary, Ms. Shamika Cuffey, to read the notice of this meeting. An amended notice convening this meeting was published on June 15th, 2023.
Notice is hereby given that the 71st Annual General Meeting of Berger Paints Limited, Jamaica Limited, will be held in a hybrid format at the Jamaica Pegasus, 81 Knoxford Boulevard, Kingston 5, and online on Thursday, July 6, 2023 at 2 p.m. for the following purposes. 1. To receive, consider, and if thought fit, approve and adopt the report of the directors and the audited accounts for the year ended the 31st of December 2022 and the report of the auditors on the accounts. 2. To reappoint the auditors Ernst & Young and authorize the directors to fix their remuneration for the ensuing year. 3. To re-elect the retiring directors and to fix the remuneration of the directors. Pursuant of Article 96 and 97, the directors to retire from office are Mr. Craig Lacroix, Mr. Milton Samoda, and Andy Mahadio, and being eligible, offer themselves up for re-election. To consider, and if thought fit, pass the following resolutions. Be it resolved that retiring director Mr. Craig Lacroix be and is hereby re-elected as a director of the company. B. Be it resolved that retiring director Mr. Milton Samoda be and is hereby re-elected as a director of the company. And C. Be it resolved that retiring director Mr. Andy Mahadio be and is hereby re-elected as the company director. By order of the board, signed Company Secretary.
Thank you. Ms. Secretary, please advise of any notice of apology for absence.
Mr. Chairman, I confirm we don't have any apologies of absences.
Thank you. Ms. Secretary, please advise the number of valid proxies received.
Mr. Chairman, we have one valid proxy received, and the proxy register is available for inspection.
Please be reminded that in accordance with the notice, voting on resolutions will be conducted via our live stream platform and valid proxies from this meeting. I would now like to take this opportunity to introduce the following persons. As I preempted the agenda, I already introduced the Group CEO. Mr. Anthony Sabga III will not be in attendance for the full duration of this meeting, as he has another event to go and be a continued ambassador for the good work of the Ansmacal Group and Berger Paints Jamaica Limited. We are, however, grateful for his time he can share with us. I'm also flanked by a very astute bunch of gentle persons. Mr. the Honorable Michael Fennell, Mr. Ray A. Sumer Singh, who's joining us virtually, Mr. Andy Mahadeo, Mrs. Jacqueline Sharp, Mr. Milton Samuda, Mr. Craig Lacroix, that's joining us online, Mr. Shashi Mahis, and Ms. Shamika Cuffey. Our auditors, we have Ms. Kean Sudlow of Ernst & Young, the recording secretary, Carissa Broadbell, also of Ernst & Young, and members of the Berger management team, Mrs. Peter Gay Levine Thomas, the regional sales manager of Penton Automotive, Mr. Newton Abrams, sales manager, and Mr. Orlando Dunkley, our operations manager. Mrs. Alyssa Dean and the team from Jamaica Central Securities Depository, our registrar and transfer agents. I extend a warm welcome to you all and all members present in person via electronic means or by proxies, and to our specially invited guests. I will now proceed with the ordinary business of the annual general meeting in accordance with the agenda outlined in the notice previously read. Ms. Secretary, we ask the accounts for year ended December 31st, 2022, and the reports of the directors thereon be tabled before this meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I hereby table before this meeting the audited financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2022, and the report of the directors.
I now invite Ms. Kean Sudlow, representing Ernst & Young, to read the report of the auditors.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, everyone. The reading of the Independent Auditor's Report. To the members of Berger Paints Jamaica Limited, report on the audit of the financial statements. Opinion. We have audited the financial statements of Berger Paints Jamaica Limited, the company, which comprise the statement of financial position as at December 31st, 2022, the statements of income, comprehensive loss income, changes in equity and cash flows for the year then ended, and notes comprising significant accounting policies and other explanatory information. In our opinion, the accompanying financial statements give a true and fair view of the financial position of the company as at December 31, 2022, and of its financial performance and cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with international financial reporting standards, IFRS, and the Jamaican Companies Act. Basis for opinion. We conducted our audit in accordance with International Standards on Auditing, ISAs. Our responsibilities under those standards are further described in the auditor's responsibilities for the audit of the financial statements section of our report. We are independent of the company in accordance with the International Ethics Standards Board for Accountants, ISBA, International Code of Ethics for Professional Accountants, including International Independent Standards, ISBA Code, and we have fulfilled our other ethical responsibilities in accordance with the ISBA Code. We believe that the audit evidence we have obtained is sufficient and appropriate to provide a basis for our opinion. Key audit matters. Key audit matters are those matters that, in our professional judgment, were of most significance in our audit of the financial statements of the current period. These matters were addressed in the context of our audit of the financial statements as a whole, informing our opinion thereon, and we do not provide a separate opinion on these matters. For each matter below, our description of how our audit addressed the matter is provided in that context. We have fulfilled the responsibilities described in the auditor's responsibilities for the audit of the financial statement section of our report, including in relation to these matters. Accordingly, our audit included the performance of procedures designed to respond to our assessment of the risks of material misstatement of the financial statements. The results of our audit procedures, including the procedures performed to address the matters below, provide the basis for our audit opinion on the accompanying financial statements. So on to the key audit matters. So key audit matter accounting for post-employment benefit plans. The company's post-retirement benefit provisions relate to a defined benefit pension scheme amounting to an asset of $81.11 million and a retiree medical post-retirement benefit scheme amounting to a liability of $94.53 million. These provisions require a significant level of judgment and technical expertise in their determination. The key assumptions used include discount rate, inflation rate, mortality, and future salary increases, which involve judgment. Changes to the assumptions could have a significant impact to the post-employment benefits recognized. Management uses external actuaries to assist in determining these key assumptions and in valuing the assets and liabilities within the schemes. So how did our audit address the key audit matter? As part of our audit, we have assessed whether the key actuarial assumptions adopted by management are reasonable and consistently applied. The discount and inflation rates were agreed to those issued by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Jamaica. In addition, we tested the valuation of relevant scheme assets. We also performed substantive audit procedures on the underlying participants' data that was provided to the actuary. We placed reliance on the actuary's report and therefore assessed the actuary's qualifications. That is, professional certification, membership in an appropriate professional body, experience and reputation in the field. We also assessed the actuary's objectivity and evaluated the work performed, including reviewing the assumptions and inputs used in the report in accordance with ISA 620, using the work of an expert. We also assessed the adequacy of disclosures in the financial statements. So on to page 41. Other information included in the annual report. Other information consists of information included in the company's annual report other than the financial statements and our auditor's report thereon. Management is responsible for the other information. The company's annual report is expected to be made available to us after the date of our auditor's report. Our opinion on the financial statements does not cover the other information, and we will not express any form of assurance, conclusion thereon. In connection with our audit of the financial statements, our responsibility is to read the other information identified above when it becomes available, and in doing so, consider whether the other information is materially inconsistent with the financial statements, or our knowledge obtained in the audit or otherwise appears to be materially misstated. Responsibilities of management and the board of directors for the financial statements. Management is responsible for the preparation of the financial statements that give a true and fair view in accordance with IFRS and the Jamaican Companies Act, and for such internal control as management determines is necessary to enable the preparation of financial statements that are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error. In preparing the financial statements, management is responsible for assessing the company's ability to continue as a going concern, disclosing, as applicable, matters related to going concern, and using the going concern basis of accounting unless management either intends to liquidate the company or to cease operations or has no realistic alternative but to do so. The board of directors is responsible for overseeing the company's financial reporting process. Auditors' responsibilities for the audit of the financial statements. Our objectives are to obtain reasonable assurance about whether the financial statements as a whole are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error, and to issue an auditor's report that includes our opinion. Reasonable assurance is a high level of assurance, but it is not a guarantee that an audit conducted in accordance with ISAs will always detect a material misstatement when it exists. Misstatements can arise from fraud or error and are considered materially if individually or in the aggregate they could reasonably be expected to influence the decisions of users taken on the basis of these financial statements. As part of an audit in accordance with ISAs, we exercise professional judgment and maintain professional skepticism throughout the audit. We also identify and assess the risk of material misstatement of the financial statements, whether due to fraud or error, design and perform audit procedures responsive to those risks, and obtain audit evidence that is sufficient and appropriate to provide a basis for our opinion. The risk of not detecting a material misstatement resulting from fraud is higher than for one resulting from error, as fraud may involve collusion, forgery, intentional omissions, misrepresentations, or the override of internal control. Obtain an understanding of internal control relevant to the audit in order to design audit procedures that are appropriate in the circumstances, but not for the purpose of expressing an opinion on the effectiveness of the company's internal control. Evaluate the appropriateness of accounting policies used and the reasonableness of accounting estimates and related disclosures made by management. Conclude on the appropriateness of management's use of the going concern basis of accounting, and based on the audit evidence obtained, whether a material uncertainty exists related to events or conditions that may cast significant doubt on the company's ability to continue as a going concern. If we conclude that a material uncertainty exists, we are required to draw attention in our auditor's report to the related disclosures in the financial statements, or if such disclosures are inadequate, to modify our audit opinion. Our conclusions are based on the audit evidence obtained up to the date of our auditor's report. However, future events or conditions may cause the company to cease to continue as a going concern. Evaluate the overall presentation, structure, and content of the financial statements, including the disclosures, and whether the financial statements represent the underlying transactions and events in a manner that presents a true and fair view. We communicate with the board of directors regarding, among other matters, the planned scope and timing of the audit and significant audit findings, including any significant deficiencies in internal control that we identified during our audit. We also provide the board of directors with a statement that we have complied with relevant ethical requirements, including independence, and to communicate with them all relationships and other matters that may reasonably be thought to bear on our independence, and where applicable, related safeguards. From the matters communicated with the board of directors, we determined those matters that were of most significance in the audit of the financial statements of the current period, and are therefore the key audit matters. We describe these matters in our auditor's report unless law or regulation precludes public disclosure about the matter, or when in extremely rare circumstances we determine that a matter should not be communicated in our report because the adverse consequences of doing so would reasonably be expected to outweigh the public interest benefits of such communication. Report on additional requirements of the Jamaican Companies Act. We have obtained all the information and explanations which, to the best of our knowledge and belief, were necessary for the purpose of our audit. In our opinion, proper accounting records have been maintained, so far as appears from our examination of those records, and the financial statements, which are in agreement therewith, give the information required by the Jamaican Companies Act in the manner required. The engagement partner on the audit resulting in this independent auditor's report is K.N. Sudlow. Ernst & Young, Kingston, Jamaica, March 1, 2023. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sudlow. There's a clicker? Yeah, we would like the clicker. Oh, it's up there. As is customary, and as we stated at the start, if there's any questions, I ask that they be taken after the resolutions are proposed and seconded. Therefore, may I ask a shareholder to propose and another to second ordinary resolution number 1, that the audited accounts for year ended December 31st, 2022, together with the director's report and auditor's reports thereon, be and are hereby adopted. Yes, sir. Lancel Bloomfields. Proposed. Thank you, sir. Can I have a seconder? Sorry? Thank you, Mr. Townsend. Before taking your questions on the accounts and director's report, a presentation will be made to outline prospects for the coming year. Can we get it on the screen? Next slide. Yeah, but I'm clicking, but it's not the same thing. Okay. So, shareholders, as we are part of a wider conglomerate and part of a large entity, a Caribbean entity, we've taken it upon ourselves to reshape and resculpt our purpose and our vision as we move forward. The Answer Macal Group remains very much focused on building and continuing to build a future, and therefore our purpose statement has changed, and we have evolved to a purpose statement of making better choices for a better world. This is inherently our Caribbean creativity and resilience and our stance as we unleash a future of infinite and sustainable possibilities for people everywhere. With this new purpose and vision in mind, we've allowed it to be our foundation for all that we do, not just in the Answer Macal Group, but also all of our operating entities, of which Berger Paints Jamaica Limited is now one. That a very critical component on that is also having a firm stance and approach to sustainability and deep-rooted commitments to our ESG. So as the slides would show, and you probably is too small for you to see, we will be focusing very powerfully on the environment through climate change and mitigation, water and marine resources, resource use and a circular economy, pollution reduction, and biodiversity in the ecosystem. Socially, we'll be constantly focusing on safe working conditions and equal opportunities for all within our employ and all of the population. Employees, customers, and consumers' well-being, and responsible marketing and innovation, as well as education. From a governance standpoint, the stakeholder engagement and advocacy, enterprise risk management, board governance, public policies, and business ethics and integration. I'm pleased to announce that the Answer Macal Group was recently awarded an international and independent award for our governance and our approach to governance, which also Berger Paints Jamaica Limited is part of. So very proud of that recognition. So with that in mind, the position that we've taken as a group is to grow growth and drive growth through vibrant culture and ethics. In that we will own our mission, we will love our customers, we will play hard, we will win together, we will care with a purpose, we will be unstoppable, and we will respect and trust always. These new values are being rolled out through each one of our operating entities and will soon be taking on a life of its own as we continue to drive the renewed culture and focus to growth and sustainability as the Answer Macal Group. This is all in service, shareholders, of us doubling our financial position in the next 5 years by 2027. And that is a critical component of the group's stance and focus as we progress. And all of our planning and all of our commitments around growth are very firmly committed to this. Just a brief introduction to some of the shareholders so you could appreciate where Berger Paints Jamaica Limited sits within the portfolio and the portfolio that I have the privilege of leading. So as sector of the Ansmacal construction sector, I have oversight over Abel Building Solutions, which is a block manufacturer, and we produce both clay and concrete building products for the local market in Trinidad and export markets, as well as we oversee and operate a quarry called Bestcrete Aggregates Limited. Additionally, we have now moved powerfully into the Guyanese market through Abel Building Solution, Answer Building Solutions Guyana Limited, as well as Answer Technologies Limited, which plays and caters to the oil and gas sector in terms of services and electric components. On the coating side of the business, we have a plant, Sissons Paints Grenada Limited, obviously based in Grenada. We have Answer Coatings Limited, that's based in Trinidad, Berger Paints Jamaica Limited, and Berger Paints Barbados Limited. These paint manufacturing entities, in one form or the other, represent and manufacture one or more of the following brands: Berger, Sissons, and Penta Paints. Additionally, as you've been seeing and as throughout our annual report, our thrust and drive to growing our customer experience and our customer focus through the Color Shop evolution. I state this and I show this slide to indicate to each of you that the policies and the governance structure that Berger Paints Jamaica Limited is present to is part of a much bigger picture as well, that's all encompassing and highly focused towards growing and continuing to evolve within the construction and construction services area. Little bit more scope. So Berger Paints, as we all know, is the region's #1 selling coatings brand. A very proud statement and a very proud position that we hold and we revere very much. The three brands that the Ansmacal Group manage under the various entities as shown represents a combined 65% of the Caribbean's market share as per our reviews. As a group and as a sector, we produce just about 13 million liters of paint as a sector, and our combined capacity across our 4 plants is just about 30 million liters. Therefore, there's huge opportunity for expansion regionally. Our focus on the retail side of the business, we have opened 11 stores regionally, and we have plans to continue with plan to double within the next year. We've deployed over $30 million in CapEx across the sector over the last 3 years. And very proudly, we have launched the Color Library, which also comes with the changeover of our entire colorant system to ensure it's more environmentally friendly. We're the #1 auto refinish manufacturer in the Caribbean that offers various environmentally friendly solutions and cutting edge technology. Also, to ensure that all shareholders have an understanding of what you're part of on a bigger scale, we produce over 50 million blocks, both between clay and concrete on an annualized basis. We represent 80% of the market share of the Trinidadian market, and business is constrained by the ability to export those blocks. Therefore, we will be establishing manufacturing opportunities in the Guyanese market. So our foundation and our focus, particularly apart from what I've said before, is to continue to expand our coating range through our textured coatings offerings and new plans for volumes. New concrete paving offering that has been rolling out across the market. We will be launching a mosquito repellent coating shortly. And then our tinting for industrial bases we continue to roll out. We do have expansion plans for Grenada to serve the OECS market in a more powerful way. And I'm proud to say that as of our July 1st, we have deployed our customer relationship management package that has been implemented in Jamaica and will soon arm our sales reps with the ability to interact with our customers in a much more powerful way. This is the Salesforce platform, which is the world's #1 CRM platform, and we're very proud to be the first in the Answer McCall group to bring this to market. In terms of sustainability, we have been focusing very heavily on our solvent recovery. In Trinidad, we've put in a new solvent recovery plant, and we continue to focus on our water recovery at all of our operating locations. I will now hand over to the General Manager of Berger Paints Jamaica Limited to walk you through the financial performance.
Good afternoon, everyone. And I'm going to extend a warm welcome to our valued shareholders who are online joining us, the board of directors, support team, management team. Again, welcome. I'd like to preempt the presentation just a bit, just in continuation of what the sector head chairman would have said. Many of the shareholders who would have attended our annual general meetings before would have heard us talking about long-term strategies. And in many of the things that he would have mentioned so far is sort of in keeping with that. The investments are not just about the 2022 performance. These investments would have started long before. Of course, with the pandemic, we would have faced certain challenges, delays to certain projects, but we were able to push through that. And we've seen a continuation of that investment that is going to take us into where we need to end up going. Just on an overview, I'll just give some financial results of 2022. Revenue, we closed the year at 3.3 billion Jamaican dollars. This is an increase of 6% over the prior year. This 6% increase is despite having a decline in volumes over the prior year. We'll talk a bit more about the volumes a bit later on. Feeding into that, the gross profits, you'll see a reduction. We closed the year at $1.4 billion. And we'll talk about the challenges that led to that. Supply chain issues, increased cost of raw material inputs, the war in Ukraine and the impact that that had on us. We'll get into that a bit more detail. The resulting impact, PBT, a break-even position. Balance sheet, you'll see a working capital ratio of 1.8, so still a healthy position. And cash balances of $259 million. The CapEx investment here is just in terms of a continuation of what I would have mentioned before, and we'll add some more details to that further on. With regards to the balance sheet, I'll draw attention to the inventories, and you'll see in terms of the increase in cost over the prior year. And again, coming back to the supply chain challenges we have had, the raw material inputs and the significant price increases that we have incurred. There would have been price adjustments within 2022. We took one in April, and a conscious decision was made not to have any further adjustments. We recognize the fact that during the course of 2022, we had very high inflation rates, went up to the point of even 11% and above. And we made a decision that in order to continue to supply our valued consumers, that we were going to try and absorb these costs as best as possible, albeit as the results would have indicated that we took some significant hits within our cost of goods sold. In terms of cash balances, I mentioned still a healthy balance and other current assets at overall $2.5 billion. Just to sum up in terms of the overall performance, again, as I mentioned before, revenues, despite a decline in volumes, would have seen a 6% increase. Gross profits, and I'll add some more details to this further on, finished at 1.4 billion, a reduction of $98 million. PBT finished at a break-even position, and compared to prior year, that would have been a reduction of 160 million. To illustrate exactly the movements, you'll see as the graph illustrates is that while we had an increase of $188 million in revenue, as mentioned before, in trying to balance that cost and absorb these increases, you'll see that we did some work in terms of managing our employee costs. So we're able to derive some savings from employee costs through efficiencies in the plant. You'll see reductions in manufacturing expenses, and all this was geared towards trying to, as best as possible, to protect our customers, our consumers, as best as possible from the increase in prices. Albeit that, you'll see the raw material cost, the significant impact of $286 million was just too significant to overcome. Despite that, we continue with investments throughout the plant, and you'll see depreciation. We have added some costs there, and this would be with the further investments that we have been making in the plant and retooling, and other operating expenses. In an effort to ensure that there were coverage for certain raw materials, we would have incurred some provision hits. And this was just in a matter of creating some certainty in terms of the supply that we had and shoring up additional raw materials, albeit knowing that we had some risk of holding this material for an extended period of time. I'll just give some context in the 2023 performance thus far. And before I go into that, I'd just like to add as well in terms of what 2023 means for us. And this year, Berger celebrates its 70th anniversary. And why that is significant, because a lot of the things that we're talking about in terms of the long-term investment, in terms of the retooling, the rebranding, the repackaging, is get towards the efforts in terms of how do we get to the point of ensuring that we have another 70 years of good and strong performance. Just as a reminder, we would have had activities in the trade. We have added on some trade marketing activities to bolster that consumer engagement, contractor engagement in the trade. Pictures to the left would show in terms of planograms and how we are executing in the consumer level. Pictures in the middle, we continue to do training with all our dealers, ensuring that they have the expertise necessary to sell products properly. Charitable donations, we continue to exercise that good corporate citizen responsibility, extending our hands as best as possible to support charitable organizations. And to the right, sorry, you'll see in terms of the color shop, one of our latest additions that was opened in December of 2022. And the color shops is really geared towards, again, enabling our contractors, our dealers, to be properly tooled in terms of the expertise, improving our distribution points for contractors, but really engaging consumers at a level that they understand exactly the key attributes of the product, reinforcing the value that the product has, reinforcing the value for money that Berger products have given over these last 70 years and what we continue to do looking ahead. The Jamaica Expo return in 2023. The Color Shop Express sign that you see in the middle there is an example of what this looks like. So we have added a couple independent stores, color shops, and there's even a Color Shop Express, which is a scale-long version that we retrofit within our dealers' locations. And again, this is more about consumer engagement, ensuring that persons understand the value of the product. We represent the brand in a more strong way and continue to add that value for money. Results of the first quarter, we have revenue of 718 million, which is relatively flat over the prior year. We continue to exercise and maintain a strong balance sheet. You'll see a gearing ratio of 13%. Cash balances, we continue to, despite challenges on the local front, we maintain healthy cash balances. Gross profits again, and this is still a continuation of raw material prices and the impact that we have seen with suppliers. PBT for the first quarter would have been recorded at a negative 39 million, and this is versus a positive 70 million for the first quarter of prior year. But the thing I want to focus on would be the continual capital investment. For the first quarter alone, and why I have greater over the asterisk there is that there's more investment to come. We have added a new forward filling machine that we commissioned in May. We have another piece of equipment that we're going to commission within October. And all these are geared to what we have seen so far in terms of the investments that we have made. In terms of our color shops, in terms of the rebranding, in terms of the Bowley Berger campaign. And I've added a few images. Well, I'm not showing. I've added a few images that just to give persons a reminder in terms of our Bowley Berger campaign and what it meant. And going back to the fact that these investments didn't just occurred in last year. This is over a 3-year period that we have been significantly investing within the brand. In terms of the look at the brand, in terms of the look at the packaging, in terms of how we go to market, trade marketing, execution, retooling of the operations. It is an aged plant, 70 years old, so there's a heavy investment in terms of equipment, but it's all geared towards one thing in terms of that long-term objective. And that's what I really want to re-emphasize with these shareholders is that despite results that you might see, again, that is a thing that we are recognizing that, okay, at a shareholder level, we want to see them healthy numbers, but we do need to understand as well that there's some investment needed. And in some cases, with a 70-year-old plant, you need to sort of re-energize that brand, and that takes some heavy retooling before you can actually go forward as powerfully as we want to go. There's some of the key initiatives that we have been looking at in the first quarter. Improve operational efficiencies. As I mentioned, the automated line we have added in May. We have another heavy investment coming through in October, and this is to help our textured coatings. Colorant system, as the chairman would have mentioned before, we are very conscious in terms of our ESG deliverables and our commitment towards that. And we continue to look for eco-friendly products. And the colorant system is one of those things that with low VOCs, volatile organic compounds, that we hope to keep living into that promise of good governance around ESG. Improve route to market. I would have mentioned that we added a trade marketing team, so recognizing that our dealer and our dealer network has been a significant component of our business before. What we have done is start looking and putting more emphasis on certain other channels and really allowing our customers, our consumers, an opportunity to be engaged by the brand to a point of the key attributes, the key selling points of the products, the key application methods, that they have an avenue that they can come into these color shops, Color Shop Express, and really get a good sense of exactly what is the best product for their needs. Customer relationship management went live within July. And again, this is a means of how do we go to market? How do we ensure that our sales representatives out there really represent the brand powerfully? This is going to aid our customers to the point of where they can now even interact with our system in a more live way, placing their orders, monitoring orders, giving a better customer experience to the point of knowing when it's time they place the order to the time that the order is actually being delivered. House of brands, and again, coming back to the fact that we don't, of course, it's Berger, we recognize that, but within the Berger company and the offerings, we do have additional products. We have Penta, which is a homegrown brand out of Trinidad. We do have automotive offerings and a number of brands within those as well. So that house of brands is really what this color shop represents to us, and where persons could come in there and no matter what is the need, what is the price point, we are able to provide you with something that could add value. The consumer and contractor engagement, and again, recognizing the fact that the hardware network representing 77% of our business. On the project side, on the automotive side, we need to do some more work within that. And we have been actively looking at selling tools, architect kits, different color tools that we could actually engage them at a different level, that we could channel our efforts the same way that we have done with decorative all through the years, that we could put some more emphasis on these other channels. And increase industrial and specialty products. Again, just the product offering and ensuring that the portfolio that we have is really one that matches the demand that persons have. Again, just to share with you the Boli Berger campaign that would have come off in 2021. And this is despite the pandemic. Jamaica would have seen its first case in March 2020, different periods of lockdown, different restrictions. However, we still executed this within 2021. You'll see some images there of the virtual concert, Boli Berger campaign, the Bowl concert. Again, this was a case of knowing that we had these long-term plans, and it's only that long that we could have possibly delayed it. So we took the decision that we wanted to push ahead with our Boli Berger campaign. Redesign of packaging. Again, with a 70-year-old plant and a lot of packaging that people have grown up with, come to love, we made the efforts to recognize that there's a new audience out there. We have persons who would have used the brand from the time that they were kids. We have taken the efforts to re-energize the brand, the look and feel of it, modernizing it a bit. And you'll see some images here from core brands such as Everglow, 303, and 404, and what they have now evolved to thus far. Our super premium products in Royal and Weatherproof, rebranding again. And textured coated Shroudon, I would have mentioned, and the investments behind it, inclusive of the packaging being redesigned. Just a round off in terms of what I've been talking about with regards to the capital investment. And as much as we have 2023 showing here, the investments really started long before, as mentioned. We started conceptualizing some of these ideas since 2019, if not before. The sector on a whole has done a lot of work in terms of rationalizing its portfolio, standardizing raw materials, standardizing product offerings. And from investments in a common ERP system, there are many more efforts around making sure that we standardize the approach to market. Understanding, of course, that in each different territory, there are different nuances. But between our investment in ERP systems in 2019 to plant upgrades, which we continue with up to this day, the brand distribution in terms of the color shops and how do we go to trade marketing support and investment in adding on a team to execute at the ground level. International benchmarking, we have taken efforts this year to have our brands center, international lab. And this is just get to ensure that the product offerings we have is actually utilizing the highest technology possible and that we could actually measure ourselves against some international brands. And the CRM platform that we mentioned is again to enhance that customer experience. In terms of our outlook and growth strategies, and this just to reiterate some of the things I would have mentioned, a forward fill machine commissioned in May this year. We have a textured coatings piece of equipment that is going to double our capacity, ensure availability of product, consistency of product. We have the premium product on the market. The challenge for us has been a matter of being able to meet the demand. So this is focused solely on that by October, we commission a new plant. Rainwater harvesting, in all the efforts that we have done around production and efficiency, we are keeping in mind the ESG initiatives, and we are looking at ways of harvesting our rainwater to repurpose into the plant. The brand distribution, as mentioned before, in terms of our Color Shop Express, trade marketing execution, low VOCs, and ensuring that environmentally friendly products, we continue to look for ways to innovate and add to our portfolio, and the independent benchmarking. All that is geared towards where we continue, despite all the challenges we have had around raw materials and despite the challenges for cost and availability, the one thing we have not compromised on is our quality. And this is evident in terms of our certification, in terms of our quality management system, and even our environmental management system. We have maintained those systems despite anything else. And one thing that we hold our, some pride in is that the fact that despite whatever we do, we execute it with a certain standard and commitment towards our communities. And just to round off here and just to recap in terms of what our priorities are, is that safety first. I'm proud to boast that Berger Jamaica for the last 3 years has not had a lost time incident. But beyond the safety, as for the certification, I would have mentioned in terms of environmental management systems, people focus and people not just in terms of our employees, but our consumers, our shareholders, the communities we operate within. Our purpose and core values, as the chairman would have mentioned before, a lot of work has been done in terms of the vision of the company purpose, our mission statement, and looking at new core values again, just to have that level of engagement. And all this is really coming back to what I would have mentioned before in terms of that long-term sustainability of the business. Berger has been around for 70 years. We are very, very committed to ensuring that there's another 70 years to come. And while we take any means of investing now, we are positive that we're going to see and reap the benefits of the investments in future to come. Thank you, Chairman.
We will now open the question period for about 30 minutes. We're prepared to entertain any questions. Mr. Staple, we're coming to you shortly. As I indicated earlier, please indicate through your hand, state your name for the record, and we will address every question as best as we can. Mr. Staple, over to you. Go ahead, sir.
You and your board for enabling us to meet face to face and hear we appreciate what you offer, appreciate effort you and your board have put in place so that we can meet face to face and shareholders. Chair, despite the hard work that has been put into work over the last year, the profit has slipped significantly. 123 million, 700,000 dollars. Now, what exactly caused this reduction in revenue, in profit? Why?
Okay. So, firstly, Mr. Staple, I agree. It's good to see many of you face to face again, doing well after these many years of absence. I appreciate the sentiment and the commentary around accepting the diligent and hard work that this management team and leadership team have put into Berger Paints Jamaica Limited. But the question is very much valid. How can we as an entity be reporting the profitability where it is? Mr. Mahis had the the slide up in the presentation, one of the biggest contributors to our financial and our profitability position is the increased cost of raw material and our increased holdings of raw materials. So with the uncertainty of COVID and with the uncertainty brought about by the Ukraine conflict, of which titanium dioxide is one of is the biggest source of titanium dioxide coming out of Ukraine, the group and the subsidiaries have taken it upon themselves to build the inventory levels and hold the inventory levels of certain key raw materials. What we have seen is, based on aging of those raw materials, various provisions coming into play, and we're also seeing, with the increased cost of raw material in of itself, whilst being sandwiched between the market's regularization of pricing and our cost of raw material, we have been holding steady, and you've seen that impact our GPs.
I've heard what you have said.
But the language and mathematics, there are two areas in life that you can manipulate significantly. The English language can be manipulated, and mathematics
but
can
not
be
mathematics.
manipulated.
I disagree. Mathematics cannot
So-
be manipulated.
What I would like to see in the future is a non-manipulation of these two areas of life, the English language and mathematics. I would like to see less of manipulation being done and actual numbers being presented. If you turn me to page 46 of your annual report. But before I go to that, Mr. Chair, I'm very unhappy as to why two companies had the same AGM at the same time on the same day.
I'm not aware of that, sir.
I am saying,
I have oversight
Mr.
of
Chair,
Mr.
that
Staple.
I'm a
Mr.
bit
Staple. Mr.
taken back as to see why is it that two companies are having their meeting at the same time on the same day, but at
Which-
different locations, basically.
Which two companies, sir?
In future,
Mr. Staple, respectfully, I asked the question. Which two companies?
what's that?
Which two companies? You're making a public
Main
point.
Event and Berger are having their meetings at the same time, on
Well-
the same day, at the same hour.
Well, I'm very happy for them. I have oversight over this entity. This was scheduled. This was published. I have no control over anything else in that regard.
What I would like to
I
see happen,
appreciate
Mr.
that you
Chair,
may
in
be a
future-
shareholder of both, and I'm very pleased that you picked to be present to ours as a
Mr.
powerful
Chair,
shareholder.
what I would like to see happen in the future is that some investigation be done as to the companies having their meetings so that we don't clash on the same day. Because we have shareholders who are in main event and we have shareholders who are in Berger,
Noted.
inclusive
problem.
of myself.
Noted,
And you
sir.
have to be skipping between both meetings.
Noted.
Okay, Mr. Chair, page 46. Your other comprehensive loss or income moved from a positive of 32 million in 2021 of 73.89851 million in 2022. What caused this?
I think we've said it all in the presentation. If you want to re-emphasize the key points.
That was driven by the, as you can see with note 6.
I'm not hearing.
Sorry. Can you hear me better now?
Can you hear now?
I didn't hear that.
Are you
If-
hearing us now?
If you refer to 2 rows up, where you would see note 6 and note 8, where it's the main driver of that was linked to the employment benefit plans, the movement in the employment benefit plans, and deferred tax.
Mr. Chair, obviously, I have to speak to you after the meeting.
Look forward to it, sir.
Turn me to page 83.
Mr. Staple, can we also give the opportunity to another shareholder? We could come back to you.
What's that?
We would like to give the opportunity to other shareholders. We can come back. You've asked 3 questions. If we could take another questionnaire, we'll come back.
No problem. No
Thank
problem.
you, sir.
point 6 on page 46, what is the remeasurement of employment benefit plans? That is the largest contributor to that fall in the profits there.
Jamaica.
97 million plus. What is that?
Kian,
Yeah.
we'll ask Ms. Sudlow to respond to that.
Just to assist the team here. So I would have mentioned in the audit report that one of the key audit matters was around the pension benefits, right? So the company has a pension plan, and there are certain obligations that come from that plan based on the retirement, the time to retirement for the employees. Now, under IFRS, there's a requirement to do a valuation of that plan, and it includes certain assumptions. So you have investments in the pension plan, and if you look at note 6 in the financials, you'll see that the fair value of the assets in that pension plan would have declined in 2022 versus 2021. So it is contributing somewhat to that reduction you're seeing. As well, there would have been changes in the discount rate, which are also outlined in note 6. So the discount rate would have moved from 9% to 11.5%. It would have had an inverse impact, offsetting the reduction. But what has happened as well is that there is a restriction on how much the employer or Berger can actually include in their account in terms of an asset. And that is what is resulting in this unrecognized asset ceiling that you're seeing as well. So overall, that has resulted in an overall reduction in the asset on the balance sheet, which is why you're seeing a negative in the other comprehensive income. I hope that is comprehensive enough.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Muriel Bailey, I'm a shareholder. Thank you. Muriel Bailey, shareholder. All right, I'm on page 45, and I'm looking at the wipeout of the profit for 2022. So in 2021, we made a profit before tax of 159 million, and in 2022, 36,000. All right, so we've reduced the other operating expenses by nearly 70 million. Unfortunately for us, we have no sight of what is in other operating expenses, because I looked through all the notes, I'm not seeing anything. Are you able to disclose to us what's in other operating expenses? And if you can just pull out for us maybe the two largest movers from 21 to 22 that shows why that profit got wiped out by that. Thank you.
Great question. Thank you. Shareholders, there's no doubt that the reporting of the financials as shown here comes with an element of unsettlement. As your board, we are not settled nor happy to present such financials. But this is a result of quite a bit that's been impacting us both internationally, regionally, and even locally. The biggest item in that bracket that you're referring to would be the provisions that we were speaking to earlier about holding additional inventories that, as per the ANSA-McAL operating policies, we've had to take the aging hit on. And whilst there are various plans to work off those items that we should see that being returned. Additionally, we have seen some variances and some impacts due to stock counts and controls around that, predominantly due to the change out of our ERP system, which we have now settled in, and we should see that being regularized moving forward. Those are pretty much the biggest items in that bucket, ma'am. Again, re-emphasizing the point that the profitability is shown here is not one that is bringing any settlement to us as well. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jeremy and I'm from Learn Grow Invest. Just two questions really. As it relates to your Q1 revenue, it seems to be flat compared to last year. Is it that volumes were flat or down? Can you speak to that?
Mr. Mays, you know?
Yes, to answer the question, it's a case of volumes being down. We are down by roughly 10%, mainly across the hardware channel. And as I mentioned before, where that is the bulk of our business, we have seen on a consumer level, especially with disposable income and coming off the inflation levels that we have had, that it's more effort needed, not necessarily on the push of the product, but the pull of the product. That's why we have engaged our trade marketing team, having a lot of initiatives around consumer engagement to try to encourage that pull and enable that sort of growth that we want there.
If I could also add to the general manager's point, whilst we have seen that reduction in the hardware channel, we've seen some very good progress in the other channels, be it contractors and on projects, as well as through our retail channel. So we are seeing growth in certain channels while seeing some reduction in others, and that has a lot to do with the direction of various of strategies. But additionally, as Mr. Mahis was saying, the disposable income in the trade.
All right. In terms of your expansion plans, are there anything specific that we can look forward to for maybe this calendar year?
As Mr. Mahis spoke to throughout the presentation, the forehead filling machine that we recently commissioned is now giving us far better efficiencies on the plant. It allows us to make a quicker run, building inventories faster, more efficiently. That may open up some opportunities for us to attack some additional markets. Additionally, there is a significant investment on the textured coatings that Mr. Mahis made mention of earlier, which will double our volumes, allow us to capitalize on the demand that we presently can't satisfy, as well as export potential into Trinidad and Guyana.
Okay. Final question so that I'm not accused of hogging the mic. In terms of, so let's say we look to the future when you get to maybe a stronger position, profitability and otherwise, would a share buyback be considered?
Every AGM I come and I get asked these questions on shares and share buybacks and partnerships and so forth. And every year I respond the exact same way. The Anson McCall Group welcomes partnerships. We welcome being part of the Jamaican fabric and having shareholders that encourage the growth and focus towards community the way that we do. Is a share buyback program being considered? No, it's not. We are looking to continue to partner with the Jamaican Stock Exchange and our shareholders and continue to grow this business in our present state.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Yes, sir.
You mentioned that most of sales are done through the hardware system. Would a focus on projects probably increase your volumes more, considering what's happening in Jamaica with projects?
Yes, so projects year to date is significantly up. I think 117%
ahead of last year. Or for our budgeting purpose, they're ahead of that as well. So we have been putting focus on the projects. As mentioned in the presentation as well, in terms of the type of products in the portfolio under projects, industrial products, specialty products, we are making more efforts around those, especially from a regional perspective, to see what do we add to the portfolio to make sure that the local need is met. The textured coating project that we talked about in the expansion is a significant component of that as well. As you'll see with many of the construction projects going around, apartment buildings, these condos and so on, many of them are choosing to use the textured products. We are recognized as the market leader in terms of the premium of our textured coatings. Our challenge has been supply. And as the chairman mentioned, is that we're increasing the capacity, practically doubling the capacity to ensure locally we can meet the demand as well as supplementing with the export.
Yes, Mr. Staple.
Mr. Chair, as I said prior to my sitting down, page 83, what accounted for this reduction in year 2022 of your pension, of your defined benefit obligation medical, moving from 2.2 million in 2021 to 2.3 million deficit in 2022? What accounted for that?
It's all linked to sensitivity. Sensitivity?
I didn't hear that.
as is all linked to sensitivity. Sensitivity of the rates is not actual, it's just a movement of the rates. Remember, as the auditor would have mentioned, every year it's revalued. So based on the movement in the rates, that's where the change came from.
Something
There is a question to the back.
something is not working right here. As far as our company is concerned, we have seen where construction was in its boom in 2022, and our profit slipped significantly.
So, Mr. Staple,
Why
I-
why is it that staff costs increased from 57 million to 61 million?
so Mr.
Why?
Mr. Staple, I would appreciate we refrain from using statements of things not being awry. We spent significant time speaking around the governance structure. Miss Sudlow from EY, an independent auditor, is present. I could appreciate that the mathematics doesn't add up or make sense to you in terms of the statement that you just made, that 2022 represented a construction boom, and therefore we're not seeing it. Considerable time in the conversation today has been spent around the increased cost of raw materials. In that, with the increased cost of raw materials, and whilst trying to maintain our price to market and to the customer, we have been negatively impacted at a profitability level. So whilst the boom continued, and whilst the boom was active, or whatever degree of boom we can appreciate, we have been impacted in terms of GPs due to the cost of raw material. If we can go back to the presentation to land the point with Mr. Staple and show the huge, can we go back to the graph? I think it's important that we land this point and close it off. The PBT bridge.
Mr. Chair.
So, Mr. Staple, as per the PBT bridge, you would see that the increase of raw material cost increased by impacted us by negative $286.4 million. That is to carry and manufacture the exact same paint in the exact same way, due to the ripple effects of COVID, supply chain challenges, and the ripple effects and aftermarket effects of pricing yet to be regularized. That's a significant impact for a business to carry. And this business is carrying it on top of having a plant that's 70 years old, on top of a plant that we're reinvesting significant capital in terms of technology, equipment, and IT infrastructure. And we're doing all of this at the same time whilst ensuring and doing our best to ensure that our pricing going to market does not prejudice our loyal customers. It's a significant effort for us to stand in this position. Now, I appreciate that we as shareholders are unhappy about the reported figure. But as Mr. Mahes has been saying, and as we sit here before you, our focus is taking this on the chest and moving forward to build the platform so that we could push forward from here and build that future state that we all want as shareholders. So I could appreciate the discomfort, but unlike the opening statement, you can't manipulate mathematics. And it's right here in black and white, or red and green and blue.
Mr. Chair, I appreciate what you and your board have been trying to do. With Mr. Fennell there, I know Mr. Fennell has been a man
Say no more.
of time. He has been a long time. He knows what it's all about. And I'm saying, Mr. Chair, shareholders, we are not satisfied that enough is being done.
Mr. Staple.
Management fees moving from 20 million, 25 million. What could be causing that, Mr. Chair? In a time when things are moving downwards, management fee is moving from 20.6 billion to 25.4 million dollars.
Good question, good pick. So part of the Berger, and as we showed in the presentation, We are part of a conglomerate of paint subsidiaries and paint entities. The technical service fee, the TSF, which is there, is meant to assist Berger Paints Jamaica Limited in building that technical capacity and capability. That comes at a cost towards Berger. That management fee level, Mr. Stapler, as you would appreciate, has always been one that has been present. And the cost and the increase of cost has also come as a result due to an increase in services being provided in lab, technology, quality assistance, and so forth.
Mr. Chair, my last question.
Sure, sir.
I appreciate what you are doing, and I appreciate what your board is doing.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate what the employees are doing.
Thank
They're
you.
working very hard. But, Mr. Chair, when we look at page 97, and the amount due to parent company, moving from 243 million to 335 million.
What
Due
page?
to fellow subsidiaries, moving from 281 million to 466 million. Mr. Chair, how do you explain this to fellow shareholders? Can you?
Yeah, I appreciate that. Director, Director.
We would like some explanation here.
No problem at all. Whilst this is showing the way that it shows, it's actually a benefit in that these payables being intergroup into parent company have a lot to do with our purchasing mechanism with our international procurement agencies in office who have been taking advantage of bulk purchasing that benefits Berger Jamaica. So this is a payable that sits on a system that we purchase through a buying house located in the United States who purchases in bulk and sends to all of our 4 plants. So whilst you see the increase, again, Mr. Staple, as I was saying, the cost of raw materials significantly increased. So whilst the volumetric purchases may not have changed, the value of the purchases would have significantly increased.
Mr. Chair.
Thanks for that, Mr. Chairman. We have a few online questions.
Go ahead.
All right, so this one is from David Rose. His question is, the company's Q1 revenue was flat compared to last year. What is that why is it that volumes were flat or down, and how is your multi-million dollar expansion going to be manifested this year?
So Shoshani, we've addressed that already.
There's a couple others, Chair, if I may. A couple other questions just to give the persons online an opportunity as well. Another question from David Rose. How has the new store in Draxall been received, and how is this assisting with reaching your wider customer base? It's serving exactly the purpose that it was meant to. The store was open in December. For the year thus far, we have seen positive results. Many of the customers being served out of the store are from a contractor base. So again, helping with our project focus. So I say it's well received. And again, and looking at stores and where we open stores, one of the key things we'll look at is that it's not a matter of competing with our dealers. These stores are strategically picked in terms of a location that it adds value in terms of our distribution. And even so, if, again, as I mentioned before, in some cases, we have Color Shop Express within a hardware store. So it's really more about the attributes of the product, engaging consumers, ensuring that if persons want to understand exactly application needs and so on, that we address those. One other question he has is exports made up a minor fraction of revenue in 2022. Is there a plan to supply other regional markets, or will there be a primary focus on supporting domestic market? No, but when the exports, as we mentioned before, one of the key product lines we are looking at is the textured products. We continue to look at the decorative on the local market. And again, with our sister subsidiaries and rationalization of the portfolio, we really try to see exactly which is the best market to produce in high volumes and shipping where there's opportunities for that. But one of the key things for the exports is looking to supply the Trinidad market and the Guyana market in terms of textured coatings.
We have 1 more minute of time. Yep. Go ahead, sir.
Pleasant good afternoon, Lancel Bloomfield, shareholder. 2 questions. Page 30. Under shareholding of directors and senior managers. Mr. Chairman, what is the reason why none of the company's directors and senior managers are not owners of shares in the company?
It's a very good point, and I could ask the directors to answer that on an individualized level. That being said, I am a shareholder of, as are many of the directors of the parent company, of which ultimate parent company, Ansmaca Limited.
I'm not sure.
We are share. Well, I could speak on my personal behalf. I'm a shareholder of the ultimate parent company that has investment in and benefit of this company.
So are you saying then that the senior managers and the directors of this company, barring yourself, also are shareholders in the parent company answer?
Many of us are. Many of us are, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they do forget, yeah, the history of the acquisition as well. The they sold their shares.
I think shareholders will recall that when the acquisition of Berger Paints Jamaica Limited took place by Ansa McCall, the directors at the time, as part of this restructuring, in fact, sold their shares, surrendered their shares rather. So from that time to this time, there has not been a reacquisition. The chairman has stated exactly what is the attitude of Berger Paints Jamaica Limited and its parent Ansa McCall for the future, and we're committed to that future. You may not see it in the shareholding because of what happened at the acquisition, but trust me, it doesn't make us any less committed.
Okay, fine with that. Last question. The price of the shares have depreciated somewhat. However, notwithstanding that, this company has been a long-standing company in paying dividends. When are we likely to see our dividends return, for which you have not paid for some time?
Good question. We, coming out of the COVID pandemic and challenges, we did not pay dividend because we didn't know how long that would have continued. As we've been showing and as we've been discussing today, whilst the pandemic may be over, we are still suffering the impact of the pandemic, particularly around cash flows and particularly around the cost and the changing cost of raw material. That being said, the board are committed to looking into a dividend payment, interim dividend, a dividend payment in the future.
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, so I think that's it for questions. I thank you all for your powerful contribution and hope that the responses received satisfied you all. Right, we got through that. What's that? Yeah. I'll now put the ordinary resolution number 1 to the meeting for adoption, that the audited accounts for year ended December 31st, 2021, together with the director's report and auditor's report thereon, be and are hereby adopted. Those in favor? Thank you. Those against? There's some online voting as well. What's that? There's nothing online. No one's on. Okay, we'll continue. So there was no vote against the resolution. Therefore, based on the voting, I declare the resolution carried. To reappoint the auditors, Mr. Ernest & Young of 8 Oliver Road, Kingston 8, have agreed to continue as auditors of the company. May I have a proposer and a seconder for ordinary resolution number 2, that Ernst & Young be reappointed auditors of the company in accordance with section 154 of the 2004 Companies Act, and their remuneration be fixed by the directors for the ensuing year. May I have a proposer? Name, sir. Thank you. May I have a seconder? Thank you. I now put ordinary resolution number 2 to the meeting for adoption. Those in favor? Those against? There was no vote against resolution number 2. Based on the outcome, I declare the resolution carried. Rotation of directors. Article 96 of the company's Articles of Association provides for 1/3 of the number nearest to 1/3 of the directors to retire annually. Pursuant to Articles 96 and 97 of the company's Articles of Incorporation, the retiring directors are Mr. Craig Lacroix, Mr. Milton Samuda, Mr. Andy Mahadeo. May I have a shareholder to propose and to second Ordinary Resolution 3A that the retiring director, Mr. Craig Lacroix, be and is hereby re-elected a director to the company? I don't understand. Oh, we could pass a resolution for all three, yeah? In block, if we can. So, yes, and I have to say that. Sorry, Mr. Staple. I didn't hear what he said. I don't understand that.
Chairman.
Yeah, we take it individually. That the retiring director, Mr. Craig Lacroix, be and is hereby re-elected as director of the company. May I have a proposer? Thank you. May I have a seconder? Thank you. I now put the ordinary resolution 3A to the meeting for approval. Those in favor? Those against? I therefore declare the resolution carried. I have a motion to propose to the second ordinary resolution 3B that Director Mr. Milton Samuda be and is hereby re-elected as director of the company. May I have a proposer? Mr. Staple. Seconder. Thank you. I now put the ordinary resolution 3B to the meeting. Those in favor? Those against? Based on the voting, I declare the resolution carried. May I have a motion and propose the second ordinary resolution 3C that the retiring director, Mr. Andy Mahadeo, be and is hereby re-elected as a director of the company. May I have a proposer? This handsome fellow at the end here. Thank you. May I have a seconder? Thank you very much. Those in favor? Those against? Vaughan Pan. Based on the outcome of the voting, I declare the resolution carried. This brings the formal aspect of the annual general meeting to close. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank and I'd like to take the opportunity to recognize and thank the hardworking, dedicated employees of Berger Paints. Yes, Mr. Staple.
Appreciate satisfaction having our meeting face to face and not through circles.
Well, we're here now.
Shareholders of the opinion. Not having a face to face, an indication that you don't want to listen to us. I don't think that's the idea.
Agreed. And that's why we're here, Mr. Staple.
Sure. Going forward, make sure we do that.
Well, I can't guarantee you that based on what we passed through in the past. I am not God. But that being said, we will do our best. We do like this forum. We like interacting with our shareholders and our partners. We like hearing your suggestions and your direction, and we welcome all input. So it is good to be back to face-to-face interactions. With that being said, I would again like to thank our dedicated staff and our management and leadership team for what they've been able to do. And I applaud their commitment to Berger Paints Jamaica Limited. I'd like to thank our shareholders for their continued confidence and trust. And I'd like to thank our board of directors for their support and counsel over the year. And I thank you again very much for being present today. Thank you very much, everyone. I now invite you to partake in some light refreshments on the side there. Thank you.